We'll be there.
Hey camera people, I'm Chris. This is Flightography. Can you see it? This week's composition? It's right out there. No? Maybe this will help. How about now? Do you see it now? Symmetry? The repeating form? No? Still? What about now? You see it now? Cyanotype. Wednesday was foggy. Fast moving banks of fog drifting down the river. It's exquisite. Calm water. It was brief though. Shortly after this turn was grounded by that fog, sitting on this beautifully silhouetted and reflected tree, a downed cottonwood, in the sacred Cottonwood Cosp on Hoople Island. Shortly after that fog descended, so too did the insects dropping from the sky, littering that beautiful mirror water with little tiny black spots, ruining 100 frames. But 4 were good before the bugs descended. What do you think? What do you think? Seriously, is that good? Comment below, please. Like and subscribe. Along that line, and the progress being made thus far this season with my new printer and my growing file of negatives, 8x10 large format negatives. Incredible. If you tuned in last week, the OK Gallery up the river, it's a raging success. As more and more people come early in the season, more and more people are seeing it. I'm happy to report the photographs have warmed people. At least on Friday night, when a group of surly youngsters tore down half of those images and used them to start a fire, a campfire. At least it kept them warm, right? It served some sort of a function. When I started that project, I was anticipating vandalism, so it's not a big deal. I'm using all my test prints and that sort of thing in there. But an interesting thing I noticed was that they left the great photographs, the land yacht and the river runs through it, one of my winter ice flow series images. I'll show it to you here now. They left those and they tore down the sacred circle on the Fraser River, and the images, the photographs that were torn down to start that fire, to warm those young hearts and souls, were religious in nature. One was of a stone circle I encountered mysteriously on the Fraser River one day about 20 years ago. It's a great image at Squia, where I used to live. The other was an image of the chapel where it strikes the Palisade Gate at Ste. Marie among the Hurons. The Christian cross shown in fog again. So apparently, the religious iconography is what was torn down. So just like social media, people can be nasty towards things they don't like, they don't appreciate. Now, would they behave like that in an ordinary gallery? Obviously not. Obviously not. Well, you never know. Just last week, great work of art was ruined by protesters for something or other. I had high hopes today of replicating this image. The terns have returned. There's one sitting there now. Probably see it behind me when I walk away from the camera. But as you can see, the water's too rough. I won't be able to get the mirror calmness that I'm looking for. And a time exposure won't work because those limbs from that giant cottonwood are moving as the water moves. I've already tried. It doesn't look good. So maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, we'll see. But perseverance is the name of the game. This is the way I set it up anyways. I have a 10-stop neutral density filter. I set my camera to a 30th of a second, adjust my aperture for proper exposure. In this case, it's f30 on 100 millimeters at that Sony 70-350G. And then I slap on the 10-stop filter and reset my exposure to 30 seconds. It's a general rule, and you can play with it a bit, but this eliminates the need to go to a bulb and having to time your exposure, right? And it works. Here's the image. Tell me what you think. Here comes some interesting looking ducks. Got about 2 hours, 2.5 hours until golden hour, and I'm out scouring for birds, adding to my portfolio of wildlife. Every year, change comes with the seasons. Change in many forms. Me, for example, I have to relearn every spring how to share my shoreline with others. Sort of like this tern and its mate are sharing this tree with me, and I shared this tree with others yesterday. The framing and the editing might be a bit stochastic because interruption after interruption yesterday. Most of them pleasant, meeting new people, having interesting conversations. For example, with 4 Bangladeshi men, new to Canada for about 5 years. They were out here, one of them, Razak, was singing his new novel to his friends here on the shoreline. They were gracious enough to let me take a portrait. A little bit of footage. I'll show you one of those. The water isn't too deep, but it's still very cold. We're a good 2 weeks away from May 24th. That's generally my first dip into the river. I should say my first voluntary dip in the river. Sometimes I capsize my kayak because I do that earlier than May 24th. Change, the focus of all of my photographic work. Could be change, changing, or changelings. This summer, it's all about rituals, wildlife rituals, human rituals, vegetation rituals. If you want to see more of this sort of content, please consider liking and subscribing. There'll be lots of interesting things coming this summer. A lot of US touring, I think. There's been a lot more activity in terms of border patrol on the river, boats and helicopters. Change. I think it's about time I give this tree back to a tern and other visitors to the shoreline. It's quite a popular tree. Being a cottonwood here in the sacred Cottonwood Cosp on Hoopel Island. History buffs may know of that name. This is where one of the decisive battles between the US and Canada occurred in the War of 1812. Turned the tide of the war, actually. Sent the aggressors fleeing back across the river. Which is right there. right there. By that I mean the United States. Have a great week, folks. Thanks for watching.